Mark Lloyd is probably, he's in the top 10 of the most dangerous people in America. Cass Sunstein, number one dude. Mark Lloyd in the top 10. He's our diversity czar for the FCC, and he's going to help out net neutrality so you can have a voice on the internet, because you don't have one now. Nobody hears you. If he makes it a utility and the government regulates it, then you'll have a voice, okay? Of course, he's going to have to look out on some of the things that are said on the internet, because some of those things are bad and shouldn't be said. But the government will regulate that and tell you what's good and what's bad.
As long as it's the government regulating it, I don't see a problem.
No, I don't either. Mm-hmm. So here's Mark Lloyd. We're just going to A-B a couple of speeches because we have old audio from interviews and speeches that he's given, and then a new speech where he wanted to set the record straight because he's being smeared by some people in the media.
Evil people.
Here we go.
The right-wing smear campaign has been, in a word, incredible. What is diversity? Diversity is not synonymous with minorities. I am not the chief minority officer.
No.
I'm not at the FCC to remove anybody, whatever their color, from power.
Okay,
There's nothing more difficult than this, because we have really, truly good white people in important positions.
Oh, that's big of you. Thank you.
And the fact of the matter is that there are a limited number of those positions, and unless we are conscious of the need to have more people of color, gays, other people in those positions, we will not change the problem. All right.
Okay.
But we're in a position where you have to say who is going to step down so someone else can have power.
Okay, hang on just a second. So wait a minute. He's not diversity. He's not worried about
minority.
It's not about minority. But didn't he just say gays, black, Hispanic? Didn't he? But he did point out there in the second piece of audio that there are some good white people out there. So that's good. Okay, more from Mark Lloyd.
All right.
I'm not a czar appointed by President Obama.
He's not a czar.
I'm not at the FCC to restore the fairness doctrine through the front door or the back door.
Good. That's good news. But
is the Center for American Progress saying that the fairness doctrine isn't necessary or important?
What we're really saying is that the fairness doctrine is not enough.
And
that having a sort of overarching rule that says broadcasters ought to be fair.
Why is he smearing himself?
Issues important to communities, and that they ought to do it in a fair and balanced way is simply enough, unless you put some teeth into that and put some hard structural rules in place that are going to result in fairness.
There you go.
I'm a supporter of Hugo Chavez.
He's not a supporter of Hugo Chavez. He just wanted to hear other
in Venezuela, Hugo Chavez really had an incredible revolution, democratic revolution, to begin to put in place things that were going to have an impact on the people in Venezuela. The property owners and the folks who were then controlling the media in Venezuela rebelled, worked, frankly, with folks here in the U.S. government, worked to oust him, but he came back.
Okay, stop for a second.
Does that sound like he was an anti?
Yeah, it didn't sound like I'm not a supporter of Hugo Chavez, but there he says that the landowners and the property owners worked with the media to stop this important democratic revolution. That's really interesting. Really interesting, because I'm trying to figure out the way you're looking like you're not a supporter of that important revolution of Hugo Chavez.
Anyone who suggests that Facebook and YouTube are the answers to the problems of old media has not been confronted by smear campaigns using these social media tools.
Yes, you're right.
True.
Yeah,
it's really
very true.
Well,
old audio.
Let's see what he said about it.
Are you a fan of blogs? You spend a lot of time blogging or reading blogs?
I spend some time reading blogs. I tend to do articles and longer pieces and not blogs so much. But I am a big fan. I mean, I'm a big fan of any media that really sort of challenges the dominant structure. So I think it's extraordinarily important.
Oh, it's important.
And then came the attacks.
Oh boy.
Andy Schwartzman was the first to warn me. about an obscure right-wing blog that was distorting my views about the First Amendment.
Distorting.
Yeah, what are his views?
Any careful reader of my writing will know that my focus, my long-standing interest, is not Limbaugh, Beck, or Dobbs, or any of the right-wing haters.
Oh, any of those right-wing. But
haters.
Don't distort. He didn't distort.
No, he's not distorting.
No, he's just stating a fact that you three are haters.
We're haters. Now, let me ask, if you're the diversity czar at the FCC, and you think that you have haters on television or on radio, how do you allow them to survive?
Well, I don't, because I also feel that the First Amendment it's sometimes people make too much out of it.
Man has never been more free than he is right now. Never. Never. Unfortunately, man has never taken less responsibility for that freedom than right now. That cannot survive. Because we don't live up to our responsibility, we will not be allowed to have this much freedom. We must teach ourselves and our children to be responsible, and we must do it now. We have to stop saying things like, not my child, not my kid, not this time. Well, I'm different. It's a different. I need to call my attorney. I need to. All of these things that have gotten us here. You don't have a right to say that. That offends me. Political correctness. Enough. Enough. There is a time to call an attorney. It's not every time. There is a time to be offended. There is not a time to say you don't have a right to say that or to think that. There is a time to ask for a hand up. There is not a time to ask for a hand out. There is a time to help those in need. There is not a time to help them, if they're in need, to break the law. We have to understand our own responsibility. We have to understand the times that we live in, and we have to wake people up as fast as you can. If you thought socialism was as bad as it could get, I think you're going to be sadly mistaken. There was an important revolution in that Hugo Chavez was a part of, if I may quote Mark Lloyd exactly, in that important revolution of Hugo Chavez. But there were people that used the media, and that stopped it. Things that were going to help the people, and that stopped it. Why would you put a guy like that in charge of a free press? The only thing that keeps us free is our press and our ability to speak out. Our founders knew it. You think they liked the press? They hated the press. The press at the time, you know how many newspapers there were? It was anybody with a printing press. That's like having anybody with a... It's like having anybody with a computer. It was the blog of the day. They didn't go after those people because they knew it was the only way to preserve freedom. But with that freedom comes responsibility. And I don't need to talk to you about the responsibility of you. I need to talk to these people, well, quite honestly, that are influenced by Cass Sunstein, that are nothing more than political arms of George Soros, that are spending all kinds of money hiring people to act like you and pretend they're just you, with their coordinated efforts as outlined by Cass Sunstein in 2008. It's happening. They need an understanding of their responsibility. And who else needs an understanding of their responsibility? The mainstream media. You want to remain free? You have a responsibility. If you think you can support people that are putting in all kinds of framework that talk about an important revolution in Venezuela and remain a free press, You call up your parents right now and apologize for wasting all of that money on that education they paid for.